Welcome to the Alchemy, Astrology, and Astro Health podcast. I'm Atla, medical astrologist, astroherbalist, and green witch. I was diagnosed with endometriosis at 19, and I was told I would never have children. I healed my body through the power of herbs, alternative health practitioners, energy healing, and more. At 28, I had the baby they said I would never have, without any interventions. I refused to believe that my body was not able to heal itself. Along this journey, I stumbled across medical astrology, and it resonated with me so much. I started down the path to learning this unique system that had been used for thousands of years in the medical community. I now help other women heal their bodies using their cosmic blueprint, the unique blueprint that every person has embedded in their DNA from the stars. This system helps me see what's going on in your body on a cosmic level and exactly how to help you give your body what it needs to heal itself. We are all uniquely and amazingly designed, and when we learn to work with our design, love ourselves for how we are designed to function, and integrate the cosmos into our lives, I truly believe that we can see true and lasting health brought into our lives. If you are ready to change your life, heal your body, and learn to deeply love who you are, this podcast is for you. Come join me as I discuss medical astrology, astronutrition, astroherbalism, health, wellness, spirituality, transformation, and so much more. I'm so excited you are joining me. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Alchemy, Astrology, and Astro Health. I'm your host, Atla, and I am here today with a very special guest, Stephanie Galindo. She is a good friend and an amazing person. She is a life coach and executive function coach for fellow ADHDers as well. Her most recent life adventure is her daughter being born 10 weeks early and staying in the NICU until just a few weeks ago. She's finally home. She's spending time with her brothers, her dad. Everybody adores her, and if you saw her, you would too. Coaching has been her daily dose of sanity during this season, which I totally get. That sounds rough. But we are so glad you are here today with us, Stephanie. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yes, I am excited. Probably should have done this ages ago. You were traveling, I travel. Our schedules were hard to mesh up. So I'm excited that we finally found some time to do it.
Same. And now I'm briefly not traveling, but have a new adventure going on. But yes, coaching has actually been a lifeline for me because it means grown-up conversations and things that get my brain active. And it's been fabulous to be able to keep that up while she's home and squirmy.
Yes, she is so cute, y'all. Like, seriously, if you could see her, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. But she decided that she wanted to be a Scorpio baby instead of where she was supposed to be born. So she came quite a bit early. She just said, I'm done now. And out she came. Yep. That happens sometimes. My nephew, same thing with him. He came like 13 weeks early. He came in for Thanksgiving, and he was supposed to come closer to Valentine's Day. Yep. He just decided he was ready, and that was that. So yeah, I understand. It's life throws curves, and you just gotta kind of flow with it sometimes. So Stephanie does, like I said, life coaching and coaching for like individuals with ADHD. She is really fucking awesome about it and with it, and does great. So tell us a little bit, Stephanie, about what it is you do and like kind of what got you in there.
Sure. So what I'm doing right now is I have a couple things that I'm really, really enjoying. One of them is I mentioned executive function coaching, which is what I call kind of the really daily practical coaching for people who feel like they have like this massive to-do list. They feel like their life is like just like kind of swirling around them, and they don't have like the exact steps to get the things done, and everything feels like it should be easy, but then it just sits on your to-do list and doesn't get done. So I have been helping people like I have two tracks, one where you just meet weekly and one where I actually like handhold you throughout the week. This looks different for each person, but it's looked like, for some people, it's looked like them just like downloading to me their entire to-do list for the last, like, the pile of things that they want to do. And then
Mm-hmm.
I literally just give them task after task after task. And for other people, it looks like, us kind of doing it together. But what's been really cool about that is that a lot of the stuck points, there's kind of like a handful, like probably half a dozen things that people with ADHD get stuck on when they're trying to accomplish, things, or to just feel like organized and calm. And it all flows from these same handful of things. But the problem is that depending on what the root cause is of like being stuck, the solution's different. And so it's been really fun to like see, in each person's case, what it is that's keeping them stuck, and then helping them, like hand holding them through to get unstuck. And so a lot of times what people find is that they don't feel, even working with me, they don't feel like they're getting that much done. And that just has to do with our ADHD brains and the way that we're wired, especially with our working memory. But then at the end of of a fairly short period of time, like maybe a month or 6 weeks, they look back and see that like all of their tasks have been accomplished. So that's one of the things that I've been doing lately. I'm also starting a new group coaching cohort in February that I'm really excited about, because the group that I have right now has been going for about 1.5 years. And it's been
Nice.
really, really fun, really tight-knit group of people. So I want to open a new one of those. And I like, my main focus is kind of unshaming the way that we are thinking about ourselves, so that we can get more curious and like problem solve for the things that aren't going well.
Yeah, that helps a lot. When you're sitting there beating yourself up for something that you can't help, you don't get as much accomplished as you would like to, because it kind of slows things down. And so yes, that is awesome. Stephanie's really good at what she does, guys. Like, seriously, definitely, if you're looking for something like that, she is your gal. Reach out to her. Another reason that Stephanie and I connected initially was they were thinking about traveling as a family, and they hadn't pulled the trigger, and we had already been on the road for a little bit. So we met in a group, wasn't it? I don't know. We met in a group, and I mentioned something.
I think it was in the ADHD Female Entrepreneurs group.
It might have been that one, yeah. And
yeah,
I think I mentioned something about traveling all the time, or Stephanie mentioned something about wanting to travel, and I reached out to her. She reached out to me. Something happened. Either way, we connected. We had some really good talks about like what it looks like to like live on the road and run business and all of that, because obviously that's mainly our first concern when you're our age and wanting to hit the road, is how do I make this work and have money coming in? And we talked about it, had just kind of hit it off, and I don't know, we've been pretty good friends since, and it's been amazing. They've started traveling, and obviously right now they're taking a break for very good reasons, and we took a break for a while too. Sometimes you need that, but yeah, it's been awesome to have that like connection too, on top of just the fact that we hit it off for just we get along really well, and Stephanie's awesome. So
so we ended up traveling. Well, we ended up living in the RV for like 2.5 years, I want to say, and traveling for a full about 1 year and 4 months, maybe. And so we ended up going all the way up to Alaska, where my parents live, and stayed there for the summer last summer a year and a half ago. And then we came back down to Washington, where we had started, and went all the way down to Palm Springs, California, and all the way across the country to Florida, and then all the way up to Niagara Falls. And now we're in Wisconsin for some reason.
Because why not, right?
Yep.
When you can travel wherever you want, yeah, you go see weird places that you might not like otherwise, like be excited to go visit. Right? You're like, oh, this sounds like fun. Let's go try it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Motherhood Tree was actually one of my favorite places, and I'd never heard of it before.
Yeah. Yeah. we've discovered some really cool places while traveling. In fact, that's how we discovered that we absolutely adored and loved New Mexico, and why we ended up buying property there.
That's
Because every time
right.
we go into New Mexico, we're like, oh, like there's like this big sigh of relief, and like our souls just feel at home compared to like anywhere else in the country that we've currently visited. Let's just say that, because we haven't made it everywhere in the US yet. So yeah, so that's how we found that. We never would have found that if we hadn't traveled, you know?
Yeah.
So Stephanie has a goal setting workshop that we've been discussing doing on Facebook. And what do you? I know you've run these before. So what exactly does like that entail for people, and how does it work? In case anybody is interested in wanting to sign up.
So, I decided with the baby coming, I just arbitrarily decided that I was going to start my new year in February, which I know for a lot of you who start it in March anyway, because it's springtime. But I decided to do that. And so I'm going to rerun a workshop that I've done before called Gentle Growth Oriented Goals. And that's the first step. I gotta have like this mapped out of how we're going to be successful this year. So first step is going to be, I'm either going to just send everybody the replay of that, or we'll actually do it live to kind of encourage people to show up, and, you know, carve time out to do it. And so basically, a lot of us, when we think of like New Year's resolutions or goals, it's like, it's either gotten to the point, either we have like all this dopamine and excitement around, you know, setting the goals, or we just have this sense of dread because we know that we've thought about it before. So one of the things that I talk about, and I could, this is kind of a sneak peek, but basically the typical way of setting goals that people have used for like decades, I don't even know how long actually, are actually not aligned with how people grow and accomplish things. And so if you've tried, like, let's say, for example, SMART goals, if you've heard of that, like where it has to be measurable and attainable and like time oriented, if you've tried that and it hasn't worked for you, all I'll say on this snippet is it's not your fault. It's because the way that that way of goal setting is not conducive to like real human life, and it doesn't actually create the neural pathways that you need to develop the skills to succeed. So so the growth oriented goals workshop that I have is about figuring out how to become the person that's going in the direction you want to go, and like getting better and better at like going there, at like getting toward that goal. And so as you do that, you not only eventually accomplish like the milestone that you might have set in the other style of goal setting, but you become a person who can do those things regularly, like that actually do the things that accomplish those goals on a regular basis. And so then you can just keep getting better and better at it. And so that's like one sneak peek of kind of how I look at goals. I think that there's 5 bullet points in that workshop, and they're all really, really helpful. So there's that. And then after we do that workshop, I'm also wanting to actually work together to plan a 12-week year. And if you've heard of that, like there's an author that wrote this book, The 12-Week Year, with the premise, and I love this premise, right? The premise is that we can't really conceptualize a full year to make like reasonable goals. And then there are too many variables that are out of our control, that like if we make this goal and then we end up having to shift or pivot for like a really good reason, like great example last year in
happened to
March,
be at the right,
right?
That's the wrong time.
if I had planned in March to like visit all 50 states and that was my goal and I like put everything into that goal and then I got pregnant and needed medical care, then like how like that goal is no longer like aligned to the life that I'm living. And so the premise of the 12-week year is that that 12 weeks is like a conceptual amount of time. Like we can conceptualize it and we can make really tangible, like because there is a limited amount of time, we can make really tangible decisions about how to accomplish that. The problem with the rest of the book and the rest of the concepts is that they're all very neurotypical. So they're very, they expect you to have the dopamine in your brain to like start the project and start doing the thing that you plan to do, regardless of like what else is swirling around you and like how, like where you are in like your cycle or just like the cycle of life in general. And so I want to create a safe space for us to work on making a goal for our 12-week year starting in February. But we're going to look at ways to do that doesn't rely on consistency and determination and all of the things that you really need, certain brain chemicals that people with ADHD don't tend to have. And so we're going to try to make it fit within, like use the tools that we actually do have in our toolbox instead of the tools that we don't.
Yeah, you know, work with yourself instead of against yourself. Things work better when we're doing that. Yep. Most of the time. Yeah. No, I like that because I am the same way. I do set goals for like my business specifically. I do set goals for life, but honestly, the way we live, I'm in my life, I'm more happy to just go with the flow in that. A lot of times, you know, we've pretty much accomplished everything I've really ever dreamed about, which was traveling all the time and, you know, being with people that I love while doing it. So it's really like, I don't feel like I have very many other like life goals that I really want to do, but we do have one this year. We do have one this year that I will be sharing later on my podcast, y'all. I don't know. I haven't decided if I'm willing to share it yet, so I might share it later. Let's just say it means we're still traveling, but we're upgrading a little bit of how we travel. So yeah,
guys, they're gonna get a private jet.
Wish. My husband used to work for the place that makes the private jets, and girl, the starting base price for I just want like the basic ass bitch plane that you come out with, no upgrades, no extra special anything, was like $10 million. That was the starting price. Yeah. If I make $10 million in my business, I will be so fucking happy, but I will probably not buy a plane with it. I won't be doing anything else. But but for my business, I do set goals, but I find, like you said, those SMART goals don't work for me. They never have. And I work very much with like my cycles. I am very affected by the moon and her cycles and where she's at and what phase and what sign. And it doesn't work for me to like, on this date, I'm going to start doing X, especially if that date happens to be the moon is in an earth sign or a water sign. Those are the signs that I don't have any energy in and I don't want to start things on. So if I'm going to pick a date to start something on, which is very rare that I do that, but if I do, I pick it where the moon's going to be like in a fire sign or in an air sign because I have more energy then, and I would actually be more likely to start it then. Right? I would look at that and not go, oh my God, that sounds like too much. Instead, I'd be like, oh yeah, I could probably get that done today. And so whether you set your goals using, you know, Stephanie's method or a method that works for you, learning to work with your body and how it works instead of fighting against yourself and then being like shamed and upset because you didn't meet your goals because they weren't set in a way that was actually attainable for you is just so much better. Like just pick whatever works and do that. And I like Stephanie's method too. I also like that she doesn't want to start her year in January. I don't start my year in January, y'all. Like for my business, my year always starts in March. My fiscal year is from March to March. Everything starts in March because I have energy then. I don't have a lot of energy in the winter. I am a full sun plant that needs lots of sun, and there is not a lot of sun in the winter, and I am in hibernation. So it works better to start later in the year when we start getting more sun from, and that. And so, yeah, even starting in February, like Stephanie said, you can plan your goals in February and then you can start enacting them in March when you have more energy to do so.
We talked about that. The other thing about goals that I'm going to be talking a lot about, but this is just like for you, if you want to, as you're thinking about like how to think about this, another snippet is that you can create goals that are skills based. So instead of like, I want to accomplish X thing, it can be, I want to develop the skill of, whatever. And the skill, like as business owners, the skill might be marketing, it might be back end, like organizational stuff, it might be honing your craft in a specific way, but it's not about getting to a specific marker. It's about like practicing the skills that you need to be able to consistently do those things in the future.
Yeah, that's a good one too, because I guess I kind of do that. I didn't think of it as like a skill building goal, but I do that a lot with like, what do I want to accomplish this year? And one of the things that I've been kind of thinking about accomplishing is setting up my, whatever it is you need in the background, kind of media kit and all that, but setting myself up because I want to in the future, either this year, next year, whenever the universe decides to provide it, like be a keynote speaker at an event, either live, virtual. I'm not picky. I'll take whatever, universe. But there's like certain things that like you kind of need for that sometimes, right? And so one of my goals that I've been thinking about this year is like developing the skills for that, so that when that opportunity comes up, I am more prepared and not like freaking out and having like a panic attack.
I love that. Yes, I love that.
Yeah, and it's a big goal for me too, because like if anybody knew me back in the day when I was off to college, I got a nursing degree, but for some reason they required every single student, but no matter what your actual degree pathway was, to take speech class and do speeches in front of like huge amounts of people. And I almost bombed and failed out of nursing because of damn speech class that I didn't even need as a nurse. I'm like, I do not need this. This is not a skill that I will ever be doing as a nurse. So why are we taking this, right? And I was so bad at it, girl, like so bad. My voice would shake so much you couldn't even understand me half the time. My hands would shake so much that literally the one time I vibrated my note cards right out of my fucking hands, and then they're all on the floor in like a million ways, and I'm just like, that was the end. I mean, I would literally start dry heaving. I was like, this is just not for me. Now, anybody who listens to me now and listens to my podcast and has been to my events would think I was crazy that was how I used to be, because it's not who I am now. And I'm definitely over the years have gained more confidence and all that, which has definitely helped. I've come more into my own too, I think. I was like barely 18 years old when they were making me take this class, and I've learned and come into a lot over the last few years.
So
but
just for fun, if I were coaching you,
yes, tell me.
What we would look at is what skills and mindset shifts have you developed over the years to become successful at what you're already successful at, because that's going to be your pathway for your next, like meeting your next goal, right? So the things that come to my mind, like off the top of my head, right, is when I used to be the same way. I couldn't talk in front of people. I got really, really, well, I wanted to really badly, but I would get like, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't concentrate and my hands would shake really bad. Same thing. And for me, what it was is that I had not gotten to a place where I, I guess the word is confidence, but the way that I see it is like, I didn't support myself. I didn't lean on myself for my own sense of value and like to be my own cheerleader. And so I would look out at the crowd and I would have to find someone who like was nodding or like who like engaged with what I was saying, because I could only get my validation from that. And if I did get my validation from that, I actually could speak very well and very passionately. But now I can speak because I trust myself. I am supporting myself. I'm the one nodding along with what I have to say, right?
Yep.
And so part of it is like finding that, and then part of it is finding that the stuff that you are like that resonates deeply enough with you that like that you can support it. You're not just like presenting, you're like sharing, like in a really meaningful way.
It's more of a passion.
So like, so those are like some things that come to my mind, like off the top of my head, that you've already developed skills for, and that's why you are so comfortable in front of the microphone now.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Back then I was, 18 for one, so we don't have a lot of those life skills developed yet. For two, I grew up in a household that didn't value women's voices as being valid and, being able to speak in front of people was not a thing that women were allowed to do. You were supposed to be silent and quiet and, let the men do the talking kind of a thing. And so it was really hard because I didn't feel like no one wanted to hear what I had to say, right? That's really what I thought in my head. No one wants to hear this because it's, me as a woman speaking. So changing those perceptions definitely helped. I think the other thing too was, like you said, I wasn't really passionate or even knew much about it. They were literally things they would throw at us, and I had to like do research and then like speak about. Well, I didn't feel confident speaking about them because honestly, I had just learned about them like last week when I was doing this for speech class, right? So it's really hard to feel confident in what you're talking about when you're not a subject expert in that, whatever that is. You're not in that, that area. So that also didn't help. And then I think just being 18, like, you don't really know yourself well enough to, like you said, feel like you didn't need validation from someone else in the thing. The odd thing is that if I was like, I did plays growing up all the time, theater, plays, things like that. I could go up on stage and I could rock out being anybody but me. If I could go up there and play a character, I was fine because it wasn't me. It was like who I was being. I could remember all my lines. My voice never shook. I was great at it. I absolutely adored that, which is why I was so like concerned how terrible I was at that speech. I was like, I've been in front of large audiences before. What is up? And I think it's because it was me and not the character I was playing. And I didn't know how to be me in front of people.
Yeah. You say like, well, I was only 18. The reality is for me, I didn't start like when I started my personal, like basically self-coaching journey is the first time that I really started to like be my own source of support rather than looking to other people. And so that was like, I was like 30. Like I was not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In fact, maybe I was, maybe like more like 32. So it took a long time to get to the point, especially like I think I came from a similar background. It took a long time to get to the point where like other people didn't have to be the judge of like my okayness. And instead I could decide that, for myself.
Yeah. I was probably close to that same age. I was probably like somewhere between like 29 and 32 probably when I really started coming into my own on that. And I think a lot of that had to do with, again, my upbringing, which was, looking back now as, someone who has gone to lots of therapy and is much healthier now, was a very unhealthy, red flag, toxic, and abusive environment. And then because that was my norm, I got into another abusive, toxic relationship right after that. And so I was just kind of stuck in that whole quagmire of my voice just didn't matter and no one gave a fuck what I had to say. And so being able to like actually having my daughter change this for me was when I had her and I had someone else that I had to speak up for in that toxic and abusive environment. It really, I don't know if it was just becoming a mom and you get all those hormones that flood you and that mama bear comes out that you just didn't even know you had inside of you until you have a kid. But something just like came out and I was like, no, I will not stand up for this anymore. I am not doing this. And it flipped my whole world upside down. And I really I got out of that environment and whatever. And it's been so much easier since then of doing that, which was not an easy thing to get out of, to stand up for myself, use my voice and not be afraid if anybody else care if they have anything bad to say about it, if they're negative, if they don't like it. If they like it, I don't care. Like, I'm speaking what's right for me and my truth, and I give zero fucks if anybody else likes it. And that took, I think, until I was like 30, 32, somewhere in there, for that to really come out, and just really learn. And now, here it is, like 10 years down the road, and I just turned 40, and all the fucks I have ever had to give are gone completely. I have none left. So I just find myself not caring at all anymore. And it's such a freeing feeling. I love it.
Yeah. I wrote, I don't know if you saw this because it really wasn't very impactful, but I did write, I was invited to write a chapter of a book, and it was a book called Feisty. And I wrote a chapter, and the chapter was actually exactly about that. It was about when I had my firstborn, and it was before I really learned any of that stuff, but it did kick in that first initial like self-differentiation where it was like, I have to do these things for me and my body and my baby, regardless of how it's going to be received. And in my case, it was actually choosing to have a home birth. Have I told you that story?
I don't think so. I think we kind of had talked about it just because that's what I wanted and it didn't work out, but yeah.
Well, this last one sure wasn't a home birth.
No, unfortunately. No. She was actually coming whether you wanted her to or not at that point, I guess. She changed.
Yeah. Actually, I have more to say about that, but let me just tell you, with my firstborn, I was so uncomfortable with, birthing in a hospital, that I realized that was my only fear. Like, as I was pregnant, I'm like, this is the only thing I'm afraid of. It's like having to fight doctors for what I want and feel like I need to do. So I decided to have the baby at home, which I was fairly unfamiliar with that practice at that point. So I think that was actually pretty badass. In addition to that, we were at a training school for, I'm just going to tell you, for the Salvation Army. And they are very authoritarian, and it's their building. And they said that we couldn't have the baby on their property.
All right, then.
So we did anyway, of course. Because
I was going to say, knowing me, I would have done it anyways. It's better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
We got in trouble, and it really changed the course of like how people saw us, but it was also really badass like how we took it, because we're just like, yeah, we know that you said no and we did it anyway, but that was what was best for us. And they're like, well, we're putting you on probation. And it's like, okay, like, anything else? What else did you come here to tell me?
Right.
What else did you come here in your full uniforms into my apartment with my brand new, baby? Did you want to tell me? But anyway, that was like my first experience in, that's what I was going to say. Now it's in the handbook that you're not allowed to have a baby on their property. So we did that. That was us.
Yeah, you know what? You go right ahead. I'm with you. I don't like people trying to tell me what I can or cannot do with my life or my body. And I probably would have done the same thing. Yeah. Fuck that.
Well, it was really that I didn't end up having any options. Like, the baby came early. I was actually trying to find like ways to still have an out of hospital birth with my midwife, who was not affiliated with a birth center at the time. I was trying to find a way to do that without breaking their rules, but then he came early, so we just had it at home. With Lyra, it's really interesting because I've now had 2 home births and then 1 hospital birth 10 weeks early. And I really, really am happy with how things worked, because even though we were obviously planning a home birth with her too, I started feeling like labor pains, right? It was like 30 weeks and like 2 days. And it was really confusing, not because I didn't know what that was, but because I couldn't imagine it happening right now. So I had the midwife.
This is way too early.
Yeah, I called the midwife, and she happened to be in town or close by. And she stopped by, she checked everything, and I was completely closed and completely like, there was nothing except for my pain levels that would indicate that I was in labor.
Yeah.
So she left, and then they just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And then I was like, there was finally a point where my husband was like timing my contractions, and they were 2 minutes apart. And we were just like, oh, I was, it was like, no, this is happening. So we come into the hospital, which was like a really unique experience because, again, I don't really go to hospitals for any reason. So we went to the hospital, and all the nurses were fantastic. The doctor was fantastic. I pretty much, because I had had those 2 other births, I knew at this point, like, how to listen to my body and just like really believe her. Yeah. And so I was just telling the nurses what I needed, what positions I wanted to be in. I didn't listen to the doctor when he had, when he said I needed to do this or that. And it was very,
I feel like, no.
Yeah. There was one point where I was kneeling on the bed, and he's like, I'm all for alternative birthing positions, which I thought it was funny that he called it that.
It's the correct birthing positions. Laying on your back actually closes your pelvis and makes it much harder for a baby to get out.
Also, we've never heard of gravity. But anyway, he said, I'm going to need you to lay on your back because it's a preemie. Like, everything was because it's so early, because it's a preemie, because blah, blah, blah. And I just look at him and I'm like, uh-huh. I literally said, uh-huh.
Yeah. And so laying on my back and making it harder for her to come out against gravity and a closed pelvis and her being a preemie would actually be worse for her than birthing in the position that you were in, because it would shut her oxygen down even more. Like, oh my God.
So instead, she came out between my knees when I was kneeling on the bed. I told everybody, I was like, she's here. And they like did not have time to react, and she popped out onto the bed. She was in the sack until she hit the bed.
Oh, great. That is, I love when babies are born on call. It is so cool when that happens.
Yeah. I wish I could have seen it. I didn't get to see it.
Yeah, unfortunately, the position you were in, and then as soon as you hit the bed, it probably did break the sack. So then that would have been great. I would have been so excited.
I know, but it's cool that it happened. And then basically this hospital farms at-risk pregnancies out super duper fast. So even they treated me perfectly. Like, they were so good. They respected my wishes, everything. But the reality is they were scared because they never had babies born in that hospital that are that like at risk, because they don't have like a NICU or any kind of
anything,
support. So I was really, really happy with how it turned out, and the fact that like there's medical, intervention when needed, and I got to like be the owner, have ownership of that, like ownership of the fact that when I didn't need it, I got to have my babies at home, and when I did need it, there was like full support for that, and that everyone was able, like literally everyone just had to listen to what my body wanted to do, and like the nurses would like move around their like little devices as I would like stand and sit and like do all of the like birthing positions that are like absolutely comfortable. And
exactly.
The doctor was actually really proud of me. Like, it was really cute because he's like an older white gentleman. And I know that he was actually like, I could tell later, he was actually really proud of me for like doing what I needed to do, refusing what I needed to refuse. Like, just because there's so many, like, his hands are tied in a lot of ways too, with what he like has to offer me or has to recommend or has to say should happen. But he was really happy with how it worked out because the baby came so fast and she was so small. It was not hard to get her out of there.
Right? It was very easy. Hence why she probably came out on call, because she, was small enough that it could all pass, together, which doesn't always happen if you have a bigger baby. I do think too that you having the previous 2 home births probably really helped in that. I think if she had been your first baby, she had been coming early, you probably would have been terrified, because you wouldn't know, you hadn't had a baby yet, this was all new, and you would have probably listened to them because you don't know any different, And it might have been ended up in that case then being maybe not the birth you wanted for sure. It would have been potentially traumatic. And then you would have this birth trauma that you didn't really need to have.
Yes.
And so it's really awesome that you were able to really advocate for yourself and have that voice. And I love that, because so many women, when they get into the healthcare system for anything, don't get that. They don't get to use their voice and speak up for themselves. And when they do, they're branded as, non-compliant patients and hard to work with. And they get bumped from provider to provider because no one wants to work with a woman who knows her body and understands it and just wants some extra assistance. She doesn't need, all of the other stuff. And I just love that for you, because it's such a better experience than, what could have happened.
I was so disconnected from my body. I had no idea, like nothing about birth for my first one, especially. I had back labor. There was nothing about it that felt like what I could have expected. And I had no idea what to do. And it was really, really hard, but at least I didn't have the pressure because I was at home. And then with my second one, it was definitely a lot easier, but still like just really, really hard. And with her, like, I had really gotten by this point to the point where like I really could understand what my body needed and trust her and listen to her. And then, and yes, so it's absolutely 100% because she was my last one, that I was able to have the experience I had and still like fully listen to her. And cute, healthy baby now.
Yes, and that's what's important. Mom and baby are healthy. And that's the one thing too that I find gets left out a lot when people have children. And if first, last, doesn't matter, people are always like, oh, is the baby healthy? And no one seems to ask if mom is healthy too, because it helps. You need both a healthy mom and a healthy baby is the best outcome, right? Which we all know doesn't always happen. But if mom's not healthy afterwards, or is very sick, or is traumatized from the birth that she had, it's really hard to take care of a screaming newborn who needs you when you're still trying to recover from that. So it's very important to have a healthy mom and a healthy baby. Obviously, we don't always get the two together. Sometimes we get healthy mom and not so healthy baby, or we get an unhealthy mom and a healthy baby. Like they don't always mesh up like they should. But it's very important for mom to be healthy too. So I'm glad that you had that experience and were able to not, have to deal with any of that other stuff that comes sometimes with a birth that's not exactly what you were expecting, Yeah, that makes it so much better for you. And I'm so excited that she's home now. She is so adorable. I keep saying this, y'all are probably going to be like, oh my goodness, stop saying that. But she really is.
Okay, but also like, I literally have never, so I'm not like a newborn or baby mom, like I'm not one of those.
Me neither.
Like I like kids once they can like talk back.
2-3 was great. Anything before that was like, oh my God.
But my first two, I kind of was like, okay, I guess I have this baby now. And when she came out, I was like, oh my gosh, that baby is so cute. So I don't know.
Yeah,
it's so
a completely different feeling.
Yeah. I think that my hormones were really different this time because this is actually the first time that I've gotten to experience like the hormones people always talk about, like, oh, you're going to fall in love with your baby, blah, blah, blah. I did not have that experience with the other ones. I was dealing with a lot of postpartum depression and anxiety. I also dealt with that here, but within this case, but I think it was partly that she was still in the NICU when I was dealing with that. And so
that makes total sense.
Yeah. By the time she came home, I'm rested, I'm healed and healthy myself. And I'm able to like, to really bond with her. And even when she was in the NICU, like I just felt a lot more connected to her and able to like, I think I just had those hormones that people talk about and I did with the other two. So that was a real gift to me also.
Yes. The universe decided, well, if we're going to have her come early, then we should definitely make sure that, mom gets the benefit of that too. Because I'm with you. I didn't have that with my daughter's birth, mainly because we were separated for the first couple of hours after she was born due to the fact that I was not doing well and I actually coded and they were, working on saving my life. So I was a little more important than making sure she was with me at that moment in time. And so because of that, I didn't actually I got to see her for like the first 5 seconds after she was born. And then I tanked, and that was, that was that.
Mhm.
So they took her away. And so I didn't see her until I got into the recovery room, which ended up being like, I think like at 2 hours after she was born. And then as soon as they handed her to me, I started vomiting like, I don't know, the Exorcist movie. And I literally had to like toss her back to the nurse so I didn't puke all over my baby.
Mhm.
And I was just so sick from all of the meds that they had to give me to save my life, and they were just not a great combination in my body. And I was
Yeah.
puking for hours afterwards. And so it was just like, by the time I actually really got to like hold her and bond with her, it was like 6 or 7 p.m. at night, and she had been born at like 3 in the afternoon. And that was really, so it took a while to catch up with all that. And so those bonding hormones didn't really show up until she probably like almost 10 months old when I really started feeling
Yeah.
finally like there was a connection, more so than just I have to take care of this baby because they handed her to me at the hospital. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or say she's mine,
Yes.
so I got to go home with her. Okay. you know,
Yeah.
because it was really hard. She didn't really feel like my baby. I mean, I knew she was my baby, but I know what you're talking about. It just didn't feel the same as what I would
Mhm.
have expected it or wanted it to feel. And, it is what it is. It happened how it should have. She's fine now. I'm fine now, but like not exactly the start to life that I was hoping for for her or for me as a mom.
I think this conversation is really important because I think that we need to normalize the fact that you don't always have those feelings,
Mm-mm.
that it's not always this like a really cute, sweet,
Yeah.
newborn moments, that sometimes just literally zero sleep, constant frustration, like
Mm-hmm.
not feeling like yourself.
Yeah.
Especially if you have ADHD on top of that, then like the way that your brain chemicals affect like your memory and like all of these other things
Mm-hmm.
about you know your personhood changes a lot during that time. And I think
Yeah.
it's so important to normalize the fact that like if that's your experience, like that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um and you're not alone.
Yeah, you're not. Birth is not as joyful for some people as they try to tell you that it should be. Mine was not joyful. Mine was very traumatic. I had really, like severe PPD that was bordering on postpartum psychosis. Until
Mm,
she was about 18 months old, I struggled hard with that. And because the only thing that my body did right in this whole scenario was make lots of breast milk. I mean, I was pumping it out like it was like, never going to end. I was really like, no, this is the only thing my body has done right. It barely kept her in while I was pregnant. It tried to evacuate her early all the time. Like, I had a traumatic birth. I died. Like, this is the only thing my body is doing right. I'm going to do this. I was really very, very,
mhm.
very stuck on I am breastfeeding, period. And I'm not taking anything that might interfere with that. So part of me having it for that long was probably my insistence on not taking any medication of any kind, because I was
Sure.
so worried about losing that one thing that was actually helping me bond to my baby,
Yeah. Yep.
that I refused to do anything. So I did work really closely with an IBCLC and a board certified lactation consultant, who really helped. And we did, my midwife was fantastic. They gave me lots of like natural solutions, and I was in therapy. Like, we did a lot of things. I just did not take any pharmaceuticals because I
Mhm.
was not in any way, shape, or form ready to lose that one piece of motherhood that I felt like I actually got to do,
Yeah.
you know?
Yep. It's the
Yeah.
one thing I'm struggling with this pregnancy, or with this
Yeah.
baby actually, is I think that because I was away from her for so long, my body, like I started my cycle again. I'm like really
Yeah.
struggling to keep up production, but so far I have been, and we'll just see how it goes. And also just like
Yeah.
being able to be in a safe space where it doesn't mean everything if
Yes.
we have to go on formula. But for
Yeah.
you, like at that point it did, and it was so important for you.
Yeah. And for it, such an individual thing. Like, for me, that was like a non-negotiable. My pediatrician was awesome with it too, and they were really good about, recommending all kinds of things that, wouldn't interfere with that relationship when she started having some troubles. Like everybody I was surrounded myself with prior to having her, because I had planned on a natural birth in a birth center and a tub, all that stuff. Because I didn't want to have her at home. I was like, oh, I felt a little
Sure.
not good enough about that. But this was like similar to being at home,
Mhm.
but was in a more
Absolutely.
monitored, it had more, I don't know, it felt safer at the time to me.
Yeah.
And when we ended up having to transfer to the hospital because things were not going in the right direction, my midwife came with me, and she was with me through the whole thing, like
Okay.
held my hand through all of it. Like, so I still had that one person there that I had seen like my whole pregnancy, that I knew, that I trusted. So that helped a lot with the whole situation. But I did do all my follow-up with them because they were my main providers. And so it was just really good to have like these people around me that supported that decision. And that's what's truly important, that you have a system around you of people and other things that support what you want for you and your baby, no matter what that may be,
Yep. Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, unfortunately, we are at the end of our time. So we are going to have to round this up and end it, but let people know where they can find you, Stephanie, and if they want to work with you, like if there's a website, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff.
My everything is Stephanie Galindo Coaching. So Instagram, I'm most active on Facebook actually, and you can actually find me Stephanie Galindo, my profile, or Stephanie Galindo Coaching, my business page. I like to just kind of mesh all of my real life stuff with my coaching, and so everyone is welcome to join me there. And then, yeah, my upcoming things, like we talked about, are this goals workshop and kind of jumping into the new year in February, and then a new coaching cohort if you're interested in group coaching. Let me tell you a little bit about that actually. My group coaching is very affordable. That's like my most affordable track. It's also like highly valuable because my current group has been going for a year and a half, I think. And it's a small group. There's 5 people, and they know each other like very, very well. All of my coaching, like the way that I do my coaching processes, is mostly client led. So people come with what is like top of mind for them right in that moment, and then we work through it from a mindset perspective. So each person gets at least 10 minutes to talk and to be coached. And so we talk through like the shifts that need to be made in those areas. And then the people who are listening end up gleaning a lot of just like basic skills that they can apply for their own lives. And then they also end up knowing each other extremely well because of, walking through life together for the last, if in this case, year and a half. All of my clients will tell you that they like literally are not even the same person, and sometimes they're like responding to like conflict or stress, and they're looking at themselves from the outside going like, who is this person that can like navigate this in this way? Right. And so that's fun, and it's only $75 a month for weekly calls. So that way it's if you're willing to like commit the time to it, then you will get way more than your money's worth in that way. So if you're interested in that, I have a link that I can give you for the waiting list. And so that's something that anyone can reach out to me about as well.
Awesome. Yes, highly recommend Stephanie, y'all. Haven't officially worked with her, but being friends and both of us having our own business, we kind of help each other with our stuff that we are a specialty, in, and she's been awesome for that. And hopefully she's gotten some value from my stuff as well, because we do collaborate a lot with each other and help each other out, So please go see her. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will talk to you guys next time. Love and light. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Alchemy, Astrology, and Astro Health. I hope you enjoyed today's episode as much as I enjoyed making it. You can find all relevant links to today's show in the show notes below. If you loved the show today, please subscribe, follow, and leave me a review. I love to hear your thoughts, and it helps me know what is a hit and to make more of that content, especially for you. If you want to learn more about me and how I can help you, head over to atlaastrology.com. There you can sign up for a medical astrology package, download my free sun sign in your health ebook, read the blog, and so much more. If you want to connect more outside the podcast, follow my Instagram channel @atlaastrology or join my Astro Connection community, the link to which you can find in the show notes. Until next time, love and light.